Now to the latest trend that's sweeping the internet.
So-called NFT.
Now what the hell's an NFT? Apparently cryptocurrency.
Why the hell NFT are so expensive?
I'm just gonna say it. I'm pretty sick of NFTs. I just want them to go away.
I think I've spent over 100 hours on this topic and I want to tell you how ridiculous, how expensive and illegal all of this is. Innocent game of RuneScape has been turned into a full-on market of sketchy tokens that have no value but are sold thousands of dollars a piece in the crypto market. Not only could Jagex sue all of these people who sell this scam, but there are actually people who buy it and nobody talks about this. Today I'm gonna look into NFTs and how they are related to RuneScape. We have all seen this picture. In fact, it has become sort of like a trademark for RuneScape. Funny one-liners where the child talks about the existence of God and reality. Okay, actually some dialogue is pretty terrifying. But we all know who this NPC is. Even though this innocent looking NPC has been around for almost 20 years now, it somehow became a meme about 8 years ago at the start of old school RuneScape when a user named HeloFriend made a post with the title "I love gnomes." Few days later, another user named Cheesy Dude submitted a photoshopped image of the gnome child and it took off like a wildfire. Posts on 4chan, Twitter, Reddit, 9gag were filled with the gnome child and it became a meme overnight. When next week came around, the gnome child was famous and it has been one of the trademarks of old school RuneScape ever since. But that was 2014. Now let's jump back to present day and how all of this is related to NFTs. How is the gnome child related to NFTs? To answer that, we have to jump into December 2021 when I read an article about Ubisoft announcing their first NFT space called Ubisoft Quartz. And essentially what the idea behind that was to sell you digital cosmetic collectibles that you can showcase in Ubisoft games. Oh yeah, and you had to play over 700 hours of FPS games to get cosmetic items. The idea of NFTs is that you're supposed to protect ownership of your so-called token. By the way, you don't even get to own the asset itself most of the time, but rather own the link or the account that someone else owns. So if I screenshot your NFT, I'm actually much closer to owning that picture or asset than you are. That's how ridiculous NFTs are. But back to Ubisoft now. All of those cosmetic items are stored on your Uplay account that can be removed for any reason whatsoever according to Ubisoft TOS. Thankfully, the idea has completely failed. Before YouTube removed dislikes, the trailer for this had one of the most disliked ratios ever, coming up to almost 97% dislikes and 3% likes at one point. And when I read all of that, I started laughing. But that article, however, sparked an interest in me. Is there something similar going on with RuneScape, and how would you even go about selling RuneScape NFTs? I will say right off that thankfully Jagex at the time of recording this has shown no indication of going into NFTs like some other gaming companies are doing right now, because firstly, the backlash has been astounding. People just don't like NFTs and think it's a complete scam. Which it is, but more on that later. And secondly, many countries are voting to ban NFTs at all together. And last, this goes completely against the war for real world trading Jagex is trying to fight every single day. People, however, are taking massive advantage of this pointless get rich quick scam, and it's working. So I went to one of these NFT sites that sells pictures and gifs of various articles. You have video games, you have music, art, poetry, politics, countries, food, everything. And when I typed in RuneScape, I couldn't believe my eyes. Hundreds, and I mean hundreds of pictures, gifs, articles of RuneScape assets being sold by anonymous users for real life money. The gnome child I started talking about at the start of the video. Just look how many people are taking advantage of this meme. Hundreds of dollars for a single picture. The highest price I found was this LED digital collectible Hypno gnome child card, whatever you wanna call this, and it goes up to $1,600. This is madness, but this was just the beginning. I just couldn't get my mind off this ridiculous thing, and it kind of felt like early days of gold selling in RuneScape. See, back in 2004 there was very little Jagex did about players who sold gold for real life money. It was just very hard to track at the time, and as time passed, Jagex changed their system drastically. Nowadays, billions of golds are removed from game every single day. But all this NFT thing feels so similar to the old days of gold selling. NFTs are so new that 1 year ago most of the world didn't even know they existed. It's a new get rich scheme like we have seen for years. But this time there are so many international companies who actually are hanging on to this trend. That's why it's still in the picture, and by the looks of it, it is here to stay. Whatever this is though is just not it. And let me make this very clear. Just how Jagex hunts down all the gold selling websites, they have every right to do this as well, because people are making real life money of the assets of Jagex. And no matter how you're trying to say that this is free market and everything is legal, it is just not. All of this belongs to Jagex, and the fact that people are getting rich off these RuneScape NFTs just blows my mind. When you start playing RuneScape, you acknowledge, you accept and you agree to these terms that all assets and property of Jagex belongs to Jagex, and selling this intellectual property goes against the terms of service, which in fact is illegal. So how are people getting away with all of this? I kept searching for more answers, specifically about RuneScape, and what I found next blew my mind. I'm just gonna say this outright, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever read, but also I feel like I need to include this to showcase how crazy the NFT people really are. Essentially what this article says, that growing up we all played RuneScape, and those amazing trading skills you had of buying lobster for 210 GP and selling it for 220 has been transformed into this innovative strategy that you can use to barter for better deals on your NFTs, and not just that, the entire crypto world itself. The owner of this article goes into detail about so-called RuneScape Mafia, group of people who used to play RuneScape when they were kids and now are entrepreneurs and successful investors thanks to all the trading and investing skills they obtained when they were kids selling logs and fish 15 years ago. He then writes 3 paragraphs about merging and how the value of items was defined by the community like it is with NFTs right now, and saying that the gnome JPEG you can buy for $1,600 is defined by the fact that someone decided that's the price you should pay for this picture. So in conclusion, what they are expecting is that you buy these images, and as time goes on, the value of the image grows. I kinda get what they're aiming with RuneScape, because you have discontinued rares in RuneScape as well. The only issue with this is that all of these NFTs you have seen in this video that are for sale are not owned by these people. In fact, they have absolutely no right to these images, as much as you won't have when you buy them. So if you buy a blue party hat on RuneScape for real life money, that is illegal. Same as with these NFTs. If you buy these pictures, that is also illegal. And you don't even own them, even if you think you do. And even though I'm joking about this article a lot, he does kinda have a point where all of us learned something from RuneScape. Me personally, it was straight up the language of English. English is my third language, and without RuneScape, I wouldn't ever be able to make this video in the first place. But straight up saying that RuneScape led to the rise of NFTs is a very hard reach. You can read the article yourself. I'll put the link in the description, as with every other source I've shown in this video. And one final thing before I end this video, and this is my favorite part because it is so ridiculous and one of the reasons I wanted to make this video in the first place. They are making an NFT MMORPG that is inspired by RuneScape. Yep, you heard that right. It's how do I say this? It's play to earn, game which is popular among NFT fans, meaning you can essentially buy gears, levels, items, whatever you want for real life money. These games will obviously include NFTs, which of course we already expect, and the funniest part is that they are planning to add pretty much the same exact skills we have in RuneScape. They are planning to add range, crafting, mining, wood cutting, fishing, and so on. You can buy all of these skills for real life money. And just to put into perspective how sketchy and ridiculous this MMO is, if you know anything about MMOs, it takes years to complete them. And I mean years. It is estimated that it would take at least 5 years in total for the League MMO to finish. For this NFT MMO though, they are planning to release this within a year. Yeah, an entire MMO game done within a single year. Release date is somewhere in the next 6 months, and boy oh boy does this look a lot like a scam to sell NFT tokens for real life money. The game itself looks very mediocre to say the least. I went through a few hours of footage and there wasn't a single time I felt the need to try it out or see the things I haven't seen before. It feels to be more of like a social media platform that acts as a game rather than an MMO, and I feel like they used RuneScape example to just advertise their pay to earn game. Honestly, if anything, this feels more like a Club Penguin back in the time, but you have to pay real life money to play it now. And just to put into perspective how ridiculous this game is, you can spend almost $10,000 to your own POH at this game. And that's just an empty POH. You have to spend even more real life money to buy items into it. $10,000. Imagine if you had to pay $10,000 in RuneScape to own a POH. This POH is yours and yours only. Allegedly. It's completely empty, and in order to buy items you have to spend even more real life money. Or imagine if instead of using renown in Leagues 3, you had to use dollars to unlock skills or bosses. $30 to unlock Herblore, $20 to unlock attack. That's how ridiculous all of this is. And the very last question I have, and the question I asked myself all this time throughout the video, how is all of this possible? For there to be profit, that means people actually have to buy all of this. And to answer that simply, yes, people are buying it. And you wouldn't believe how much people are willing to spend on all of this. This is a new wave on RuneScape gold selling, and it's much worse. It's run completely by third parties, so Jagex has very little control over this. And to make it even worse, 80% of all of these NFTs are owned by 10% of the people. It's a pyramid scheme, and people are buying into this, losing all their money on a hope that they will get rich off these images. It is very clear how rapidly all of this is growing, because if you put value on something and say it's very rare, eventually someone out there is gonna believe you, and it will grow and grow and grow. At the end of all of this, you will end up with a picture or BOH that is actually worth nothing, and you end up potentially thousands of dollars down the drain. Thank you for watching.